In this video, we're going to talk about absolute value and kind of a review of absolute value so that we can build upon that to talk about absolute value functions. To take the absolute value of something, we use this symbol, two vertical lines. So for instance, if we wanted to take the absolute value of 6, what does absolute value mean to you? How do we find that out? Well, the absolute value is, on a number line, the distance between 0 and a number. So we say that the distance is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the distance equals 6. So the absolute value of 6 is going to be 6. So what is the absolute value of negative 6? What do you think it is? Well, let's start from the origin and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The absolute value of negative 6 is the distance between 0, right here, and negative 6. And that is also going to be 6. So you can see right now that the absolute value is going to be a non-negative number. If we took the absolute value of, say, 0, well, the distance between 0 and 0 is just 0, right? That's not a positive number, but it is not a negative number. So I think we can say then that the absolute value is the distance between 0 and a number. And the key word here is distance. Next, we're going to talk about the absolute value with variables. Let's say we have a number line, and the number line is centered at 0. And let's say we have a point all the way up here that's called x, and a point all the way down here called negative x. If we want to take the absolute value of x, what is that? Well, it's the distance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we keep counting till we get to x. It's the distance x from 0 to x. If we take the absolute value of negative x, it is also going to be the distance from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we keep going till we get to x. It's going to be this distance, x. So whatever is inside that absolute value can be the negative version of what is basically outside of the absolute value. So you could have a negative x, that x could be negative x, or it could be a positive x. Right here, see? Could be x, or it could be negative x. So let's start by solving some problems here. Suppose we have the problem 1/2 times the absolute value of x equals 4. We need to break this down into a couple steps to figure out what x is. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to isolate the absolute value of x. Then the second thing we're going to do is we're going to solve for x. So how do we isolate the absolute value of x? Well, what I need to do is figure out how to get rid of this fraction on the left-hand side. The way I'm going to get rid of the fraction is I'm going to multiply the entire left side of the equation by 2, and if whatever I do on the left side, I also have to do on the right side. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. When I do that, the 2's cancel on the left side, and we get the absolute value of x is equal to, and 4 times 2 is 8. So we have isolated the absolute value of x on the left-hand side of the equation. The next thing I need to do is think. I need to think about, what does this mean? The absolute value of x is equal to 8. That means the distance between 0 and x is 8. So on the number line, it could be either -8 or it could be 8. So what I like to do to solve for x is I like to draw a little branch. And I like to say, I'd like to strip away the absolute value sign and just write it as x. Whatever's inside the absolute value, I just write it. The absolute value sign, just write it. And then I write the positive version of what it could be. And then on the right-hand side, I'll write x equals, and I will write the negative version of what it can be. And that is our answer right here. So solve for x, we are going to say x is equal to, and we're going to use the fancy way, plus or minus 8. And that is it. Next we have this problem, solve for x. It's the absolute value of 3x over 6 equals 1. We're going to break this up into two parts. The first part is we are going to isolate 3x, the absolute value of 3x. And that is going to get us to our second part, which is to solve for x. So in order to isolate the absolute value of 3x, we are going to multiply both sides by, can you guess what it is? 6. That will accomplish it. The 6's will cancel. We end up with the absolute value of 3x is going to equal 6. Now, what I like to do is strip away the absolute value sign and look at what's inside the absolute value and realize that 3x could equal a positive 6, or 3x could equal a negative 6. Once I do that, now all I need to do is solve for x. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and I get x equals 2. And I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and I'm going to get x equals negative 2. So to solve for x, all I need to do is branch off, and I will get x equals 2 plus or minus 2.